And from half court, Trae Young calls game. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Utah Jazz fall to Atlanta Hawks 124-121 in a pretty incredible finish tonight. Trae Young calls game from a foot behind half court at the horn after Collin Sexton on a frantic kind of out of control play got an open three on the left side and buried it. And the Jazz had seemingly tied it. And then Trae Young brought it up the front court from half court, buries it. Trae Young was incredible. Tyson Ewing just gave us a note that Trae Young contributed on 59 of Atlanta's final 69 points, all of them in the second half. 86% of their points were either scored or assisted by Trae Young in the second half. Young is tied for the second most 2020 games in a season in NBA history with that one. Third time this year he's done it. And it is going to take us a minute to go back through all the plays that happened tonight, from Walker Kessler's offensive rebounding to Sexton's threes to everything that happened around that. That was a fun, great game, and that was something else by Trae Young.
It was fun. And the reason it was so much fun is that back and forth, both teams making some mistakes, and then they make some good plays, that kind of thing. And it really kept the fans engaged with what was going on out there on the floor. But I enjoyed the ball game, especially watching Trae Young.
Let's just talk about him for a second. I mean, this is a player who seemingly, according to rumors, was available for any team in the league last year, and nobody wanted to give up enough for Atlanta to give him away and take him. And yet here he is leading the NBA at 12 assists a game, averaging 23 points. And tonight, without Jalen Johnson, I mean, he was incredible. He finishes the night with 20 assists, 24 points. He contributed, I believe, 49 or 52 points on the 20 assists. I'll have to check it again. But that was something else.
So you look at, he's averaging about 16 shots a game. That's what he took tonight. But his usage has to be somewhere around 75% of everything that they do out there on the floor. I haven't seen it. I was trying to think of during the course of the basketball game, what player at 6'1" has controlled a game as well as he controls it. I go back to Tiny Archibald, guys like that. But in the modern era, I don't think there's been one.
Chris Paul?
I don't know if Chris Paul controls it. You could put him in that category, but Chris Paul is not what you would call a scorer.
I have to go back and look. Like, Trae's 24 points a game feels like a loud 24.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, right. I mean, the thing that jumps out to me, Ron, 20 assists by the way for 50 points tonight.
50, yeah.
Here's what jumps out to me. There's assists where Isaiah, like a good example is like Lauri Markkanen comes off a pin down on a set play, and you hit it, and he catch and shoots and hits the three, and you get an assist for it.
Okay.
Right, yeah. You get his 20 assists are him doing something that bends the defense, that creates the smallest of passing lanes where he's throwing a pass to someone that I don't think 5 other guys in the league can play. Like, of those 20 assists, I'll go back and watch it tonight. I'm going to guess 15 of those are uniquely Trae Young.
So to add to that, and just think about the assists that he was getting tonight. I mean, they had 50 points in the paint. Now, that was a couple of those maybe been in transition or something like that, because they do push the ball up the floor. But just think about Capella, Hunter, Kricic, those guys that Trae Young benefit from Trae Young's craftiness or his penetration in order to them scoring at the rim. He's unbelievable.
It's really remarkable. Yeah. And your point also, in a league where 6'1" is kind of going away, if you're going to be 6'1" and playing this league, you
better be special.
You have to be Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young special.
Yeah,
you have to be that fabulous.
Now,
and then, like I said, like,
let me add something real quick. Tiny Archibald. I'm going back to Tiny Archibald.
Who, by the way,
led the league in scoring.
Yeah, led the league in scoring and assists in the same. Yeah. You were saying. Sorry, I thought you just assumed we all knew that. I didn't. Right. I was going to kind of jump in and say like so people know Tiny Archibald literally led the league in points and assists in the same season. Trae Young could probably come close to doing that. Yes. Like, also, just your perspective as a guy who's been around this league for 50 plus, half court shot to win it.
Special. Hey, man, if that's on tape, you can't wait till you get my age and you got the grandkids. I want you to check how good grandpa was, right. That kind of thing. But that's all special.
Right. Well, that was we'll talk about the Jazz here coming up. There's a lot of really big highlights on the Jazz, so let's get to that as well. On today's show, we'll get that to you for a second. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, great way for you to get involved in the game. Basketball season heating up. There's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy with your basketball knowledge. Here's how: pick more or less than at least two players for a shot to win up to $1,000 in times your cash. Think LeBron going over 30. Who's going to make the plays for Dallas? How many assists is Trae Young going to get? Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in 60 seconds or less. Now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 back instantly when you pay your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win. To get bonus, it's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's show is also brought to you by the official sportsbook of Locked On, FanDuel. FanDuel. Big upsets, winning drives, NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. NFL playoffs starts this weekend. Get involved. Join FanDuel.com today. Get started with $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Well, the Jazz night started with Lauri Markkanen going off. Second most points he's ever scored in the first half of a ball game. He was absolutely fabulous. He had 24 at the half. He was great, really, most of the night. What did you see out of Lauri?
Well, I saw him being as offensive-minded in the first quarter we've seen in quite some time. I mean, some of the shots I thought was questionable of whether he felt he was hot or not, or he was just going to made up his mind he was going to get some shots up. But, he was on the money. He scored well, kept the Jazz in the ball game to the point where they were only trailing by 4 in that first quarter.
There's a lot of highlights tonight. I mean, this was a really good game. Jazz trailed by 4 at the end of 1, 3 at the half, 4 in the fourth, and obviously went back and forth. And a bunch of in the fourth quarter alone, we had 8 lead changes and 6 ties. I mean, this was really fabulous. There's a lot of guys that stood out to me. What was interesting tonight is all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter, Cody Williams is on the floor, and he's still really, really, really far away. But you're beginning to see why he was taken 10th in the draft. The left-hand drive from the wing in the first, I think it was in the third quarter, playing with the ball in his hands and initiating the offense for part of the fourth quarter. He looks better from his G League time. He's got a long way to go. That body's so far behind, but you can begin to see some of that coming together.
Yeah, and more he gets a chance to get those minutes on the floor, and I know we keep harping on that. Minutes is everything for these young guys. You can see why Will and the management wants to see those guys play because, they're looking for next year of some growth of this basketball team and to the point where you're going to be fighting for the play-in spot, if anything.
The box score line that might be as equally awesome as 20 assists is 8 offensive rebounds by Walker Kessler.
He is, what did they say? What was the comment? Eating glass?
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's exactly what he's doing. He's, what I'm really enjoying is the fact he's not waiting for the ball to come to him. He's going to get rebounds. And if you think about, and I'm not putting him in the category of guys like Dennis Rodman or anything like that, who just, I mean, he hunted offensive rebounds. Yeah. But Walker Kessler now is using his length and he's going after And as you point out so many times, he's keeping balls alive in order to tapping it to himself, to come up with offensive rebound. How many did he have tonight? Eight offensive rebounds.
He finished with 20 points. Or how many? He finished with 21 points today.
Yes.
I mean, and I think I don't know how many second chance points he specifically had tonight, but it felt like he probably, a lot of those rebounds turned back into buckets, and particularly late, he was mammothly important. Then he hit both free throws late in the clutch as well.
Okay. It's probably surprised Quinn Snyder over there when you do that. When I was here, but his confidence is definitely up there. He's getting there, and his rebounding is probably his biggest asset now. How about the little jump hook, little left-handed jump hook he made there tonight there as well?
So the Jazz tonight really played pretty good offensive basketball. Had a 124 offensive ranking through 123 at the half, 115 through 3. I don't know the final number of the night on the offensive rating. The Jazz have had a hard time in fourth quarters in the clutch getting stops. They have the lowest rated off defensive rating. The Jazz finished with a 118 offensive rating tonight. So, I mean, that's a pretty good night. Hawks ended with a 121, unfortunately. And obviously the 3 from Trae Young was the difference.
Is that going to be the norm?
What?
120s, 18s.
It's getting close. Yeah. I mean, Cleveland's at 120, setting the standard for the league right now. So I think that was a high-level offensive game. I mean, the league offensive rating right now for the average offensive team in the league is a 113.5.
Mm-hmm.
And that's down from last year when they made the rule change halfway through the year. Last year was a 115.6. So we're actually scoring less this year than we did.
Less, huh?
Yeah, per 100 possessions than we did a year ago. So, I mean, what's interesting right now in the league, this is just a side note, in the midst of this, we have the greatest offensive team and the greatest defensive team all at the same time, which I actually think is a real testament that kind of where the league is like the right spot for all the talk about threes. Like if you have one team that's actually setting a new standard and this offense is so much better than everyone else's, and that's Cleveland, and you have another team that's actually has the greatest defense of all time, and that's Oklahoma City, to me, then that tells me that like kind of the game's in the right spot, right? If you had the 5 or 8 greatest offenses at the same time and nobody can play defense, it would tell me you're in the wrong spot. But that's just a side note to where we are now. Feels like there's more to talk about. Last couple of plays were nuts. I'll go back and rewatch a lot of it. I'll break down the details of play-by-play on POSTCAST on Locked on Jazz tomorrow for you. Anything else that we have forgotten about, kind of the franticness of the late games and the timeouts and the foul by Collin that wasn't great, and then the 3 by Collin that was, and the inbound play that kind of went wacky and then ended up in Collin, and the deep 3 by Trae and whatever else?
I think one thing we might want to get into, maybe not tonight or sometimes for the coaches, strategies, like tonight, Will and Quinn making decisions they make in the last 5 minutes of a ball game. I thought both coaches did a great job there in the last 4 or 5 minutes.
It was interesting. Well, Quinn called a timeout to get an inbound the backcourt, but then also he didn't have a timeout late, which turned out all right for him. All right. Fun. All right. Who's your reliability pluses tonight?
This is probably one of the few times I'm giving my reliability points to points.
Just points.
Points and Cody.
Oh, interesting.
So points would be obviously Lauri and Walker Kessler, Collin Sexton, and Patty Mills.
Patty Mills. We didn't talk about Patty Mills. Patty Mills came off the bench and went bonkers tonight. Hit 3 straight threes, and then hit another one late. He took a lot of shots tonight. 14 shots in like 12 minutes. Way to go, Patty. Get him up, baby.
He ended up with 14 in 18 minutes, and he was 3 for 9 from the 3-point line. And Cody Williams. So we're giving it to points. Maybe we better get one to Trae too, huh?
Yeah, right. First ever reliability plus to an opposing team. Yeah. All right, that is POSTCAST tonight. Thanks very much for tuning in. Go check out Locked on NBA every night. At the end of the night, we give you Locked on NBA Game Night, which runs through all of the games of the NBA. On behalf of Ron, I'm David. I'll talk to you tomorrow with Locked on Jazz.